Burt Reynolds had stayed silent for decades. But now, long after the cameras dimmed, long after the laughter on set faded, and long after Hollywood moved on, he finally revealed the truth about the man who shaped some of the greatest moments of his career, Jerry Reed. For years, fans of Smokey and the Bandit, Hooper, and their other legendary collaborations wondered what the real relationship was behind the scenes. Was it just a screen chemistry, professional convenience, or was there something deeper, something Hollywood never fully understood? And now, at last, Reynolds breaks the silence. Before he talks about Jerry Reed, before he revisits the laughter, the improvisation, and the brotherhood they shared, he takes us back to the beginning, to the life of a boy from Michigan who survived heartbreaks, injuries, and Hollywood storms before becoming one of the most iconic, magnetic figures in American cinema. The man the world knew as Burt Reynolds, and the man he privately called his brother in a spirit, Jerry Reed. A story of fame, a story of friendship, a story of loss and legacy, and it all begins with the journey that shaped Reynolds long before fame found him. Burt Reynolds, born Burton Leon Reynolds Jr. on February 11, 1936, in Lansing, Michigan, did not arrive in this world with Hollywood lights shining above him. His beginnings were humble, shaped by a modest home and the determined spirit of a family striving to build a future in Riviera Beach, Florida, where he spent most of his childhood. From an early age, Reynolds carried two things that set him apart: a fierce drive to succeed and a resilience forged through hardship. At Palm Beach High School, he discovered the first great passion of his life, football. On the field, he was unstoppable, powerful, focused, the kind of athlete who made crowds lean forward because something was about to happen every time he moved. His talent earned him a coveted scholarship to Florida State University, setting him on what seemed like a clear path toward a professional football career. But fate had other plans. A devastating series of injuries shattered his dreams and left him at a painful crossroads. For most young men, that would have been the end of the story. But Reynolds wasn't most men. While recovering, a professor noticed his charisma, his presence, something even football had never fully revealed. He encouraged Reynolds to try acting. At first, it seemed absurd, but it became the turning point of Reynolds' entire life. What began as a reluctant experiment soon became a revelation. Reynolds discovered a new stage where he could channel all his heart, intensity, and charm. And once he stepped into that world, he never looked back. By the late 1950s, he was appearing in small television roles, inching his way into an industry that rarely opened its doors for newcomers. But Reynolds' magnetism was impossible to ignore. His presence wasn't just watched, it was felt, and Hollywood noticed. By the mid-1960s, he had transitioned fully into film, proving he could command the screen in dramas, comedies, and action films alike. But the moment that changed everything came in 1972, when he starred in the unforgettable thriller, Deliverance. A film that didn't just showcase his acting ability, it solidified him as a serious, complex performer capable of raw emotional power. Critics praised him. Audiences couldn't look away. Hollywood finally understood what football had lost, but cinema had gained. From that point on, Burt Reynolds wasn't just an actor. He was a phenomenon. And soon the world would meet the man whose friendship would leave one of the deepest marks on his heart, Jerry Reed. After the explosive success of Deliverance in 1972, Burt Reynolds didn't just rise, he ascended into a level of fame few actors ever experience. Suddenly, he wasn't simply a promising star, he was the man Hollywood wanted, audiences adored, and studios depended on. Throughout the 1970s, Reynolds became one of the highest paid, most sought after leading men in the world. His charm was effortless. His smirk became iconic. His presence lit up every screen he touched. And whether he was portraying a rebel, a hero, or a mischievous troublemaker, he did it with the charisma that felt impossibly natural. He embodied the very spirit of American cinema, rugged, confident, humorous, and undeniably magnetic. During this period, he delivered a string of massive box office hits that solidified his legacy. Smokey and the Bandit, The Longest Yard, Cannonball Run, Boogie Nights. Each film showcased a different side of Reynolds. In The Longest Yard, he was gritty and commanding. In Cannonball Run, he was playful and free. And in Boogie Nights, decades later, he proved, once again, that he wasn't just a charming face, but a powerhouse actor capable of depth and darkness. His performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, bridging generations and reminding Hollywood of his remarkable versatility. Beyond the roles, Burt became something more, a cultural icon. He represented both masculinity and mischief, elegance and rebellion. His interviews were sharp, his humor disarming. Everything about him felt larger than life, yet deeply human. But while his screen career soared, his off-screen world was a balancing act of triumphs and pain. He faced financial struggles, health setbacks, and heartbreaks that shaped him as profoundly as any film role. Still, he pushed forward with resilience, using every challenge as fuel for his craft. His generosity, especially toward younger actors, became a hallmark of his personality. He loved the industry, not just the fame, but the people, the art, the joy of storytelling. And that joy would connect him to someone who shared the same fearless spirit and passion for entertainment. Jerry Reed, the man who walked onto a set one day and changed Burt Reynolds' life forever. Behind Burt Reynolds' dazzling smile and unstoppable career was a romantic life as dramatic and headline-grabbing as any Hollywood script. Every relationship, each filled with passion, heartbreak, or hard-earned lessons, revealed another layer of the man fans adored on a screen. Weiss, his first marriage began in 1963 when he wed Judy Carn, the talented English actress known for her work on the hit comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Their marriage, happening just as Reynolds' star began to rise, placed them under Hollywood's relentless spotlight. But their union was short-lived, ending in 1965. Still, it was a pivotal chapter. It introduced Reynolds to the unyielding scrutiny of the public eye and the emotional cost of living life in front of millions. After Judy, Reynolds found companionship in actress Miko Mayama, with whom he lived from 1968 to 1971, at a time when Hollywood offered few opportunities for Asian American performers. Mayama's presence brought both tenderness and the stability into Reynolds' increasingly chaotic world. These were the years he transformed from a familiar face into a leading man, and she witnessed the pressures and sacrifices that came with it. Then came a relationship that surprised everyone. From 1971 to 1975, Reynolds was deeply involved with the legendary singer and entertainer Dinah Shore, a woman 20 years his senior. Their romance was not only passionate, but profoundly influential. Shore's experience, grace, and maturity shaped Reynolds at a crucial point in his career. She became a mentor of sorts, a grounding presence amid the whirlwind of fame. Their connection showed the world that Reynolds didn't chase superficial glamour. He was drawn to strength, intelligence, and soul. In the mid-1970s, his path briefly crossed with country superstar Tammy Wynette, known for her emotional powerhouse hit, A Stand By Your Man. Their relationship was short, yet emblematic of Reynolds's pattern. He gravitated toward a strong woman who commanded their own spotlight. Even in fleeting romances, he sought depth and authenticity. But perhaps the most unforgettable love story of his life began in 1976 when he met actress Sally Field. What they shared wasn't just romance, it was electricity. On screen, they were magic. Off screen, they were two hearts running toward each other with an intensity that fans could feel even decades later. They starred together in classic films like Smokey and the Bandit and Hooper, where their chemistry is spilled beautifully from real life into Hollywood history. Reynolds would later call Sally Field the love of my life, even years after their breakup in 1980 and their final separation in 1982. Her name carried a weight in his voice. Their relationship was passionate, complicated, tender, and deeply human, the kind that leaves a permanent mark on a heart. In 1988, Reynolds entered a new chapter when he married actress Lonnie Anderson, one of the era's most glamorous stars. Their union captivated the public, two icons joining lives in a whirlwind of media attention. Together, they adopted a son, Quentin, giving Reynolds the long-awaited joy of fatherhood. But fame is a demanding companion. Their marriage eventually unraveled, ending in 1994 amid emotional turmoil and legal battles, intensified by Reynolds' involvement with cocktail waitress Pam Seals. The breakup was messy, public, and painful, one of the most difficult chapters of his life. Still, through every romance, every joy, and every heartbreak, Reynolds remained a man searching for connection, companionship, and truth. These relationships shaped him not just as an actor, but as a human being. And through it all, one constant remained his deep, unwavering bond with the one man who understood his humor, his passion, and his craft like no one else, Jerry Reed. Before Burt Reynolds ever spoke publicly about their friendship, fans could already feel it radiating from every scene they shared. But the truth behind the cameras was even deeper, warmer, and more powerful than anyone imagined. When Reynolds finally broke his silence about Jerry Reed, his voice carried a tenderness rarely seen from the charismatic Hollywood legend. Jerry was one of those people you couldn't help but admire, Reynolds said. He had this raw talent, this energy that lit up a room. He brought that same energy everywhere we worked together. For decades, fans assumed their chemistry was the result of good casting. They were wrong. It was something far more genuine. Reynolds remembered the very first moment he met Reed, a moment that would shape years of a collaboration and a lifetime of memories. He walked onto the set, Reynolds recalled, with that swagger, that confidence. But there was kindness in his eyes, too, a willingness to get along with everyone. In a world filled with ego competition and fragile alliances, Jerry Reed was different. He was real. He was grounded. He had heart. Hollywood is full of talented people, Reynolds admitted, but Jerry had the rare combination of talent and humanity. That made working with him effortless, like two souls perfectly aligned in timing, humor, and instinct. When fans watched their on-screen banter, their synchronized improvisation, their jokes that felt a little too natural, they weren't imagining it. That was friendship, pure and simple, captured on film. Reynolds revealed that behind every iconic scene in Smokey and the Bandit, every stunt in Hooper, every perfectly timed comedic beat, there were moments the world never saw. People think we were just out there doing stunts and cracking jokes, he explained. But Jerry always brought something unexpected, an improvised line, a spontaneous gesture, a tiny spark of brilliance that made the whole scene better. Reynolds often found himself stopping mid-take, looking at Reed with disbelief and admiration. "Man, where do you come up with this?" he'd ask. Jerry would simply grin, as if genius was the most natural thing in the world. Their partnership wasn't built on contracts or studio deals. It was built on trust, on instinct, on shared joy. Reynolds knew Jerry would always be there to lift a scene, to lighten a moment, to remind him why he loved filmmaking in the first place. But Hollywood lights cannot burn forever. And the day Jerry Reed passed, a piece of Burt Reynolds' spirit dimmed with him. Losing Jerry was hard, he admitted softly. It wasn't just losing a co-star, it was losing someone who was part of my story. Their friendship was not superficial, not born from convenience nor shaped by fame. It was real, it was lasting. It was love in the form of loyalty, laughter, and years of shared memories. Even after Reed was gone, Reynolds carried those moments with him. The sense of joy Jerry brought into every room, every set, every chapter of his life. It was a bond that never broke, not with time, not with loss, not even with death. As Burt Reynolds reflected on Jerry Reed, his words revealed something deeper than nostalgia. They revealed a man profoundly shaped by his friend's spirit. Long after their final film together, "Jerry taught me a lot without ever saying it directly," Reynolds confessed. It wasn't formal advice, it wasn't lectures, it was the kind of wisdom you absorb simply by being near someone whose soul burns bright. Reed taught him joy, true joy, the kind that comes from doing what you love without fear, the kind that fills a room before the first line is spoken, the kind that reminds you life is too short to hold back your laughter, your heart, or your fire. He taught him to show up fully, no matter the chaos swirling around them. Jerry faced every scene, every challenge, every moment with a kind of radiant commitment, and Reynolds admired him for it, more than he ever said out loud while Reed was alive. Reed also taught him the value of people, the importance of connection, of kindness, of loyalty. In a world where so many relationships are transactional, Jerry showed Reynolds what it meant to genuinely care, to lift others up, to bring warmth into a room simply because you can. Watching Jerry work, Reynolds said, was like watching someone embrace life itself. And that was the lesson he carried with him through every chapter of his career. Even decades later, Jerry's influence echoed through Reynolds' choices, in the roles he accepted, in the way he mentored younger actors, in the joy he tried to bring on to every set. Their friendship wasn't just a Hollywood story, it was a defining force in Reynolds' personal journey. And as he looked back, Reynolds realized something powerful. Jerry Reed didn't just help make films iconic, he helped make Burt Reynolds a better man. Their partnership, part professional, part spiritual, became a reminder that the people we meet along the way can shape us in ways we never expect. Their laughter becomes our strength. Their kindness becomes our compass. Their memory becomes our legacy. Through his heartfelt reflections, Reynolds ensured that Jerry Reed's legacy would live on, not just in films, but in the stories, lessons, and love he left behind. But as we honor the bond between them, we must also confront the chapter that fans feared most, the final moments of Burt Reynolds' life, the moment Hollywood lost one of its brightest stars. As the years passed, Burt Reynolds remained a towering figure in Hollywood, a symbol of charisma, resilience, and a golden age of filmmaking. Even as his health waned, his spirit never dimmed. He continued acting, teaching, mentoring, and sharing stories that only a man who had lived 1,000 lifetimes could tell. But behind the familiar smile, his body was growing tired. On September 6, 2018, at the Jupiter Medical Center in Jupiter, Florida, the world lost one of its last true Hollywood giants. Reynolds suffered a sudden heart attack, a medical emergency so swift that, even surrounded by experienced professionals, nothing could be done to reverse it. He was 82 years old. News of his passing reverberated across the entertainment industry. Directors, actors, musicians, and fans from around the globe mourned not just a performer, but a symbol, someone whose very presence had shaped generations of cinema. To many, it felt like the curtain closing on a bygone era, an era of daring stunts, unforgettable smiles, effortless charm, an era of movie stars who didn't just act, they defined culture. Reynolds had known triumphs, blockbuster successes, awards, and iconic roles that would outlive him. He had also known hardship, financial struggles, health battles, heartbreak, and the relentless pressure of living life in the public eye. But in the end, what mattered most to him were the people, the relationships, the laughter, the shared moments, both on and off the screen. And at the heart of those memories was Jerry Reed. Even in his later interviews, Reynolds' voice softened every time Reed's name was spoken. The loss of Jerry left a void, a quiet space where their shared joy had once echoed. But Reynolds carried those memories with him until his final breath. And through his final reflections, one truth became clear. Their friendship was not just a part of his career, it was a part of his soul. Now, as we approach the final segment of this story, we look beyond the fame, beyond the films, beyond the headlines. We look at the legacy Burt Reynolds left behind and the way Jerry Reed's spirit continues to live through the stories, the movies, and the memories they created together. When the world said goodbye to Burt Reynolds, it wasn't just the loss of an actor. It was the farewell to a symbol, an icon whose charm, humor, and humanity had shaped decades of entertainment. Reynolds wasn't merely a star, he was a force, a presence, a man who left fingerprints not only on Hollywood's history, but on the hearts of everyone who watched him. His career stretched across film, television, stage, and even directing and producing. He reinvented himself more than once, proving that true talent doesn't fade. It adapts, evolves, deepens. And yet, despite all the accolades, one of the most profound parts of his legacy came from something far more personal: his relationships, his loyalty, his courage to keep moving forward even when life knocked him down. Reynolds' journey, from a boy with football dreams to a struggling young actor to a global superstar, became a testament to resilience. His struggles with finances, health, and heartbreak were public, but his perseverance was private, steady, and deeply human. He lived boldly, he loved deeply, and he learned from every chapter, especially from the people who walked beside him. Among them, Jerry Reed stood apart. Their friendship, was woven into the fabric of Reynolds' happiest years. Reed wasn't just a co-star, he was a confidant, a creative partner, a mirror reflecting the best parts of Reynolds' spirit. Through Reynolds' own words, Jerry Reed's legacy is preserved with tenderness. He taught him joy, he taught him presence, he taught him gratitude for the people who light our world from within. And so, when we remember Burt Reynolds, we remember a man who embraced life fully, who carried his scars with pride, and who never stopped learning from the people he loved. His films remain timeless, his performances unforgettable, his era irreplaceable. But his greatest gift to the world may not be the characters he played. It may be the truth he revealed when he finally spoke openly about love, about friendship, and about the man who helped shape his journey. Burt Reynolds ensured that Jerry Reed's light would never fade, and in doing so, he revealed the deepest truth about his own legacy, that a life is measured not by fame or fortune, but by the hearts we touch and the memories we leave behind. As the curtain falls on the intertwined stories of Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed, one thing becomes unmistakably clear. Their bond wasn't just an anecdote in Hollywood history. It was a reminder of something deeply human, something that transcends fame, time, and even mortality. Reynolds, in his final reflections, didn't highlight awards or glamorous premieres. He didn't boast about being one of the highest-paid actors of the 1970s. He didn't lean on his legendary charm or his countless magazine covers. What he remembered, what he cherished, was connection, the laughter that echoed behind the scenes, the improvisations that turned simple scenes into cinematic magic, the trust that allowed two performers to elevate each other, and the memories that refused to fade even decades later. Jerry Reed wasn't just a co-star, he was a thread woven into the fabric of Reynolds' life, a reminder that real friendships are born not from convenience, but from an unspoken recognition of kindred spirits. Reed's energy, humor, and brilliance were the sparks. Reynolds' warmth, gratitude, and loyalty were the flame that kept their story alive long after cameras stopped rolling. And that story, their story, has become something larger than both of them. It is a celebration of artistic partnership, a testament to the emotional truth that underlies great performances, and the lesson passed on to anyone who dares to chase a dream. No one becomes great alone. Behind every legend stands someone who believed in them, laughed with them, challenged them, inspired them. For Burt Reynolds, that person was Jerry Reed. And because Reynolds finally broke his silence, the world now understands the depth of that connection and the beauty of the legacy they built together. Their films will continue to play. Their laughter will continue to echo. Their friendship will continue to live on, in stories, in memories, in the hearts of those who admired them. This is not just a tribute to two Hollywood icons. It is a tribute to friendship itself, to the people who shape us, to the love we carry long after they are gone.